Hola Chicas. If you're back, it means that you're ready for relationship chisme. So,
who should start?
Ooh.
And thanks to my gordito for all this new stuff.
For the new mics.
You feel more professional.
Mm-hmm. We do. So, let's talk about our past relationships we've had.
The highlights.
The highlights,
We're not gonna tell you guys
because there's a lot of details. But we want to talk about our past relationships and what we've learned.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you let me know about your first non-official boyfriend?
Not official. So, in 8th grade.
She sounds so sad talking about it. Isaac, no le vayas a pegar cuando llegue a la casa.
No. Well, my first secret boyfriend was in 8th grade because I wasn't allowed to date, you know?
Christian household thing.
household, no novios. But I was dating this guy in 8th grade, and it was some wild times.
What was wild
but
about
I remember,
it?
so I dated him in middle school for, I think, my whole year of 8th grade. But, I was a traviesa. And we would make out. You would make out with your little boyfriends. Like, don't say you did not make out with your little boyfriend.
No, yo era un pan del Dios.
Whatever. Even though you guys see me here, innocent as I can be. But I was wildin'. No, but, yeah. And we were making out. And somehow the cameras caught us kissing. Yeah. And then they called my mom. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Y no te pegaron.
No, she didn't. Honestly, I was surprised. But I did get in trouble, but she didn't. No me pegó. But I remember she became super strict. And they called her in school and they let her know. So there would be like random days that she would show up out of nowhere, like in lunch. And I remember I'd be hanging out with him like I don't know if whoever's from the east side, Gateway Elementary. It has a big soccer field, and we would be like all the way over there with my other friend. And we would just be chilling. And I remember one time we were all laying down, and then my friend goes, "Is that your mom?" And I'm like, oh my God. And she was just standing like far away, I remember. And he kind of rolled like to the side and like walked, and me and my friend kind of went this way. And then I went up to her like, hey, and she's like, oh, ¿qué andas haciendo? And I'm like, oh, nothing,
She didn't see him?
No.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes I feel like she did, pero se hizo like she didn't.
We need to ask her that one of these days.
Yeah, it was pretty far. But I remember she became so strict with me. Like, she would check my backpack when I would get home. So if I had like little love letters, I would give them to my other friends, and they would take care of them for me.
Oh.
Because I would tell you, like, she would check my folders, everything. Like,
wow.
And I didn't have a phone, so I couldn't really text him. So all I had was the notitas, and the little pictures. But that was my first.
Damn.
Like, I feel like we all grew up kind of like, oh, that's my novio, but you guys never even like talked or anything, Mm-hmm. But he was like my first like official school boyfriend
that you would consider a boyfriend.
That all our friends knew we went out. But yeah.
Should I talk about mine?
Yes.
So
he was in a poster.
So my first, I would consider him my boyfriend, mm-hmm. But it was like a little kid boyfriend stuff. Mm-hmm. So I think we were like 13 or 14. They started coming to church. We're not going to say any names.
Yeah.
For privacy
reasons. Not say names.
But he was one of my dad's like sons. My dad's friend's son.
Okay.
And I'm like, wait, what? And so según the idea was, because I wasn't allowed to date, my dad was always the one that would be like, hasta los 35 you can have a boyfriend. I'd be like, no, I want to have a boyfriend. And he'd be like, no, you can't have a boyfriend. Well, según he had told me, that he would come to my quince and he would ask for my dad. Well, he would ask permission to my dad. Okay.
Wow.
So we would see each other at church all the time. And because I was a pastor's kid who can relate, so I didn't not kiss anybody because I didn't want that. I didn't want to be known as like la fácil, se puede decir. So I never kissed anybody. Like, yeah, we would hold hands or something, but never did I kiss them. Y pues según iba a venir él a mi quince a decirle a mi papá que se podía hacer date me, ¿no? Jesus. And well, the tea, okay? He came with his pregnant girlfriend to my quince. And she was like panzona. Like, wow. She was already like showing.
So they had been like talking.
Yeah.
He was talking to you.
He was a bigger player. Estaba bien feito. Todavía está feito, pero... But a pesar de ese heartbreak that I had at the time, because at 15 you're like expecting this thing to happen at your quince, and then it just boom, it falls in your face. You're just like, like, how could he do this to me? Like he said, I didn't say anything and I couldn't show emotion because nobody knew. But I could say I dodged a bullet because now he's in jail. For drug charges. Jesus Christ. So, I wish him the best. I hope he gets better. But I did dodge a bullet. So,
yes.
That was my first.
That's good. Wow. Well, talking about troublemakers.
We like bad boys.
Yeah.
But ya nos calmamos.
Yes. Now, my other boyfriend I had one... I don't even consider him a boyfriend. I feel like, I don't know. I think because we grew up together. Like, my mom knew his mom before, like, I was born. He was born more like my older sisters, like, age together. So we hanged out. Like, my mom was already hanging out with them since before I was born. I was, I think, 13. Oh. No, 14. But I feel like he always had a crush on me. But I didn't see him like that because since we grew up together, we were just friends, like. But I remember I was in 7th grade and he was in 8th grade. And it was more like he was my boyfriend. But we never, like, nunca nos juntamos or nothing. And we fuimos novios for a week. And all I think we did was kiss one time. And that was it. And we broke up because he was going to high school and I was going to 8th grade, so it was like, oh, there's no point in staying boyfriend and girlfriend. So I kept seeing him at church because that's where we like grew up at church, and but he was like a brown brighter. Yeah, he was all cholito and stuff. So come a year later, I was about to turn 15, like I was gonna have a quinceañera, and his family and ours, we would go play in las tardes like that. And one time we were all together, and then he gives me a letter because back then it was all about the little letters, all folded, all cute, que lo doblabas, and it was like a poem, and I was like, oh my gosh, he wrote this whole poem, and it was in Spanish, like a song. And I showed it to my mom, and she's like, es una canción bien vieja, like this is an old song, like an old love song. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he goes, I got my name tatted.
I got your name tatted.
I mean, yeah, my name. He tatted my name on his chest. Like, he
Magali. Ese beso down. Yeah. Got him hooked.
But the funny thing is, he did it a year later. And we only dated a week. And out of that week, we saw each other one time. But I guess because we saw each other like with our families, like everywhere else, but like me and him, like we saw each other one time, and he's like, yeah, this is to show you that I love you. And like, I'm like, what? I was so confused. I'm like, I'm turning 15, sir.
How old was he?
Like 16.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And he wasn't like old, he was just 1 year older.
But that's kind of hardcore.
I know. And the good thing is though that my mom saw it too. And his mom would be like, ay, está loco. Yo le dije que estaba loco. Why did he do it? And I was like, yeah, like, it's cool, that he has it. But at the same time, it's like, that's crazy, Why would you do dating. That? Yeah. He's like, no, it's to prove that I do, like, want to be with you. And I was like, well, I'm sorry. No. And I'm like, what if you're gonna get with somebody else and they're gonna see like my name there? And he said, I don't care. He's like, I'll name my daughter after you just so I could keep it.
Oh
my
God.
And then when he got with his girl and she had a kid, he posted a picture, like they were swimming, but it was covered. And he put weed plants over it. And I was like, oh. I'm like, what happened to keeping it forever? I'm just kidding. I didn't tell him anything, but I was like, oh.
Casi le preguntas, what was your daughter's name again? Magali?
I know. And I took a picture of it with my flip phone. But come on. To save a picture from a flip phone, you either have to have that flip phone still and that charger, because there's no way I would have sent it somewhere else, you know? If it was a couple years later, then I could have maybe have a copy somewhere. But at least I know, like, I have people that saw it and know that it happened, where it's not like I'm lying about it, you know? So
so we're going to get my soda on this podcast soon to validate that.
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
And the sister. I'm just kidding. And my sisters.
And the baby mama now.
Yeah. Shoot. But yeah, that was one thing. Now that I think about it, I'm like, wow, that's really crazy.
That is crazy. I'm like, I tell Magali, I feel like she was more boy crazy than I was. I guess I was more like chilled out, like como que no me llamaban la atención, pero I wouldn't like pass, you know, like I just wasn't like that. Like no me importaba si había un guy or whatever. Yeah. But I guess once I got out of high school, I started to become a little bit more. No, actually, it was my 12th grade year. I don't have such of exciting stuff, but it was my gambler boyfriend, on and off boyfriend, hookupper. Yeah, he was so old compared to me. I would say now pedophile, but you know, I was a dummy too for doing stuff. Yeah. But he was 26 and I was 17. Don't recommend it. But he was more like an on and off boyfriend. Like, si no nos queríamos hablar ese día, like no nos hablábamos como por días, like or weeks. And then after, like a little bit after, then or I would contact him and he would contact, but it was more like a hookups. I'm not gonna say anything else. But you know those gamblers that think that they're so cool because they've never lost? That was him. Oh wow. But I mean, I feel like I didn't have super exciting stuff like Magali. I'm like, damn.
But you know what's funny though? I didn't notice like guys and stuff until I was in 8th grade. Yeah. Like it wasn't like I was like in 5th or like 4th grade, how you see all these little girls now. Oh no. I wasn't. Like I was so like tomboyish. Yeah. Like I was like doing my own thing. And then I'm like, wait. There's that like guy likes you, you know?
But I mean, like that you've had more like stories. Yeah. My stories, it's not the best stories, but they don't really have much to it, you know? Yeah. So that was, I think, and then I got with Cesar. So, wow, otro desastre for another day. Yeah. But now, you know, how it was a rough start at first, but that one boyfriend, I think I've seen him like one time when we worked in Santa Fe. Oh, wow. Like, y lo vi like de lejos, and I was like, oh, and he had 2 kids with him. Wow. And I was like, oh my goodness. Estaba bien feito, pobrecito. Ay, no sé qué hacía con los feitos, pero apparently lo que me gustaba. So tell us about your next adventure, Magali.
And then my official boyfriend was at 15. I know all you criticonas, like, ay, que chavala. Whatever. You guys were having your little secret boyfriend.
Magali's like, too. I was living my best life, okay? Yes.
But no, I feel like that after my quinceañera, that was like when I was able to wear makeup, because we weren't allowed to wear makeup. So until I was 15, I was like able to wear makeup after my quinceañera. And then that's when I had like my first official boyfriend that my mom knew about and actually let him come over, or like us go out in groups. It wasn't like she would let me go out with him by myself. It was either with his family or my family. It was never like a solas. But also a church boyfriend as well. Well, no, it was like a ballet folklorico, because that's where we met, you know. Mm-hmm. But I was with him for, I don't know, like 2 years. And then he cheated on me.
2 years as a 15-year-old, that's a long time. And he cheated on you.
Exactly. But I feel like he was like my first like ilusionada like type boyfriend, you know, like I guess because it was like my mom knew and he was able to come to my house, so it was like more like official, you know. And he met my family and I met his, so and then he cheated on me. And the funny thing is though, I've always been like, when it happened, I was never like, oh, I'm gonna beat up that girl. Like everybody's like, oh, you need, and I was like, no, at the end of the day, it wasn't her fault. Like to me, at the end of the day, it's the guy's fault.
And how did you find out that he was cheating on you?
Oh yeah, that's the highlight.
I'm like, wait, how do we know all
I forgot.
this?
But so I have a cousin who was dating one of the friends that was really close to his family. She was younger too. And they were at a quince, and my boyfriend was there at that quince, and I know I was trying to hang out with him that day, and it was like, no, I can't, like, I'm not allowed to, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, whatever. So then my cousin calls me, and he's like, isn't this your boyfriend? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, he's here with some other girl. And I was like, what? And
Damn.
he's like, yeah, look. And him and his girlfriend at the time showed me, and they're like, yeah, look. And I was like, I don't know. I was so mad. So I just went off on him like, F you. Like, are you lying to me? Like, you're so dumb. Like, my cousin's there. He saw you. And typical of men. No, like, my mom told me, like, I could to invite her as a friend. And I'm like, oh, no, forget this. Like, and then we broke up. And it was like almost like a week before Valentine's Day.
Aww.
And I remember like I cried a whole day, and my mom was like, you can just cry one day for him. And ya después de eso, get up and move on. And yeah, literally, it was a Sunday. It was a Sunday too. And we went to church. And you know, the worship when it's in like the adoración, I was all crying. And I'm sure whoever saw me that day was like, wow, she's touched by the Holy Spirit. But no, I was crying.
You were brokenhearted.
Yeah, it was like, you know, you just found out they cheated on you, like toda ilusionada. And I'm like, wow. Now that I think about it, I laugh. I'm like, I'm sure whoever saw me was like, wow, the Lord is working with her because she is crying. But no, it was just because of that.
But at that time, when you were 15,
yeah,
you were 17, no?
Yeah, more
when
like 16, about to be 17. Yeah.
How did that affect you think? Having such a, I guess, long-term relationship that young, at 15.
At 15.
Like, do you remember how you were feeling like at that time? I know that your mom was like, "Oh, más un día llora" or whatever. Yeah. But you still had to go to school. You went to school with him, right? Or no? Or just at ballet?
Just like the dance class, and then like at the church.
Oh.
So even after we broke up, we kept going to that dance class. Like we were still part of the group, you know? So.
Damn.
And I acted like it didn't bother me, and the girl was there too.
Oh, wow.
And then he would like text me, how do you act like you're okay? Like, you know, you don't even look sad. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, you cheated on me? What do you mean? So he was mad that I wasn't sad and like heartbroken and crying. And I'm like, and I feel like that's what hurts them, you know? They're like, oh, whatever, she dumped me, you know, just because I did this.
Yeah. And
they want to see you all sad. And I was like happy. Like, I've always been like that. So I was like, I don't care. Like, I'll move on. I have 2 other ones, you know. But
damn.
No, but like I'm saying, like I wasn't worried, and I think it helped that my mom was like, "No, don't cry for him," you know. She's like, "Don't ever fight another woman for a man. Like siempre ha sido así. Like, ¿para qué te vas a pelear at that point? Then just leave." So I was like, "Nah, I'm gonna be the bigger person, and I'm not going to like
entertain it."
Show him. Yeah, there was days where I was sad and stuff, but I would never show it. Like I wasn't gonna let him see me like all
and did you burn
stuff.
all of his notes that he gave you, or what'd you do with that stuff? I want to know about, because damn, 2 years is a long time.
Well, I can't take him out of my quinceañera because you know
you gotta take everybody else
exactly. But yeah, everything else. And he would write me a lot of letters, because back then, if you know, it was all about letters. So, And I remember I didn't throw it right away. I threw some stuff away, but I remember I had one of the oldest letters he gave me still like saved in my book. And I think like, I don't know why, but that relationship, I feel like como que fue mi primera y me ilusioné tanto that I held on to it, you know? Like that was like my first like official like relationship like that. And at 15, you're dumb and you think like, oh, we're going to last forever and we're going to get married and blah, blah, blah.
Casi te ponías Magali Bleep with his last name.
Yeah. So, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And more because you were raised like not to date, you know, like if you are going to date, you need to like get married, you know, like.
At 15, that's kind of crazy.
I know, but it's like, they're like no relationships, you know, like te tienes que guardar, blah, blah. So to me, and both of us being raised Christian, it was like, okay, like that's what we were going to do, you know? Pero la carne pide, como dicen, and he went for it. And I was like, okay. But then eventually I did throw that letter and I did burn it.
Oh, qué bueno.
Yeah.
Once you were healed.
Exactly.
From the
I
trauma.
didn't burn it.
Kidding.
I don't know if I threw it away, and I got to a point where I was like, you know what? No, like this is old stuff, you know? But now I'm like, that it would have been cool to keep, to be like, oh, look, like to show.
I don't know about that.
Not like cool, but it's like, oh, look, like this is a memory. Like how dumb was it? You know, we all have like memories of it. Not to be like, like that. I mean, more like to look back at it and laugh.
And where you were.
Yeah, like how dumb you were. That's why if you're 15... don't trust me. If you're dating somebody,
you have a whole lifetime to date.
Yeah,
so no rush.
Lifetime.
Now I know why my dad would tell me hasta los 35, because damn, like you're barely growing up, and then you're in a relationship, and then
you're like trying to figure yourself out. Like, and imagine dealing with somebody out, like you dating somebody else, and they're trying to figure themselves out, and then you guys are together. So now you have to be like, oh, what's wrong with them? Like, why are they acting like this? No. When half of the time you don't even know what's wrong with yourself. So it's a stressful situation. Like,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it was dumb. But that was him. Like, that was what happened. But after that, I kind of became friends with the girl.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, because she would be like, oh, yeah, it's so weird because he'd be crying for you sometimes. And I'm like, why are you there then? Like, what? But I don't know. I was just never the type to be like, oh, I'm not going to talk to her. And then she ended up going to the church we were all going. So it's like,
yeah, so
the right Christian way is to be, why hate her? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was that one. My first official one. And then we moved states. Boom. And then after that, I really didn't date anybody. I stayed alone for a long time.
Yeah.
And then we started going to church. And then I dated this Mexican guy too. I don't want to say his name. But
named, you know what?
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like, you know, church, it's like, oh, he's a good guy, he's Christian. But I feel like I never felt it. Like, when I moved to New Mexico, I was just dating. I would date him, like, just at church, and then I'd be like, you know, I don't really even like him. And you know how you were saying, like, how did that first relationship affect you? And I feel like that's how it affected me. Like, I feel like since I was so young, y me ilusioné tanto, que mi tío me decía, oh, that's puppy love, mija, you're going to remember me. And tío Pepe, I remember you now. So, it's true. But I feel like I was already so ilusionada with that when I did date out in New Mexico, I was like I wouldn't feel it, you know?
You had it like in the back of your head.
Yeah. And I was still so young, you know? So I was like, But with him, it was like a month. And I was like, nah, I don't even like him, you know? Yeah. So.
Wow. And that's just some, or is that everybody?
No. Who else? I'm trying to remember.
We could talk about one person that I would like to talk about.
Who?
With you.
Which one?
The one that we fired you for?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about him.
I'm like, just to take it back to the first episode.
It's because...
Para que sepan todo el chisme lo que pasó.
Yeah,
this
that's
is it, guys.
true. That was that. Yeah. Same thing. I feel like we moved to a new church and then they're like, oh, you know, date somebody from church, you know, they're better. In my opinion, they're worse sometimes. But anyways, yeah, him, I dated him 4 months. And I think I was 22 when I dated him.
You were young.
Yeah, I was 22. And he was... apenas había llegado de Mexico. He was like a cousin of some of the kids that went to church. And yeah, we met and we just kind of hit it off and we just started dating. And he was the guy I'm like that I lost it to, which I regret so much because, and I don't even feel like we had like an attachment because I got over him real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And even now I don't like,
it's like
not
you think
like
back on him.
Yeah. And you know how like there's people that are like, oh yeah, I lost it to him. And I'm always thinking like a lot of girls, and me with him, I don't. I don't know why. Like I don't have that like
that attachment
with him. Yeah, like I don't. And maybe because of how we broke up, you know, like I'm like, I feel like some girls are still attached because when they did do it, they were in love. Like both people were in love. And I feel like with us, we weren't. It was more like,
it was kind of like you should date him because you're in church and he's in church, and
yeah,
you guys should try
you
guys would make a cute couple, like,
yeah,
and
like
you guys
that.
have the same
beliefs
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that should show everybody out there. Just because somebody says you should date somebody, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't. No.
You shouldn't.
Even if it's church people telling you.
Or if it's your mom, or if it's your dad.
Anybody.
Nobody.
Yeah.
But then what happened the day that talk about that? Just so we get to the Chisme part.
Okay, so
what happened that day?
I think he stopped working where he was working at, and then I was like, well, just come with, because the store they used to own, there was days where I would go in and work all day, like open to close. So in my head, I was like, well, he could just come, you know, and chill all day with me at work. Like, he doesn't have to stay there because he wasn't staying in the little booth. Like, he would go walk around or he'll be there. And I don't know, why did you end up showing up that day?
I don't know. We had to go get something.
I don't even
know.
Like, they had to come get something, and Noemi saw him, and I remember her face was like,
I was just so upset.
She was so mad
because I feel like that's not who Magali was.
Yeah.
And I was just so upset because I'm like, why would you do this? You would not do this at any other job.
Yeah.
But to put this out there, I'm not proud of how we reacted because I feel like Magali wasn't in the right mind and I wasn't in the right mind. Yeah. But I definitely, because of my anger, I feel like I como que me ganó el coraje, and I told Cesar, you better go fire her. Like, how could she be doing that? Like, no. Like, now that I think about it, was it that big of a deal? No, I could have just talked to her and been like, hey, like, and what are you doing? She's like,
you need to go home. Like, you know, no, I think you had left
because I had to calm down.
And then you called Caesar, and then you came back in, and you're like, you know what? You could just go home. And I left, and we left.
Ni me acuerdo de eso.
Yeah, because you had left. And I was trying to like play it off like everything was chill, but I knew you were like pissed. And then you walked out, and I was like, okay, like I guess, you know. And then I saw you walk in, and you're like, you know what, you could just get your things and go home. And I was like, oh, okay. And I left. I'm like, what was I gonna do?
So yeah. And
then I think,
so lo embobó. In a way though, it was kind of like he was, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, you could come and hang out with me. And he was like, okay. And at the same time, like, why didn't you think of anything that was a bad thing to do? Yeah. For him, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, you know, we're young, dumb.
Yeah. And then he ended up leaving back to Mexico because we like tried to open our own business, remember?
Yeah.
Like a repair shop. And then he ended up going back. And then he's like, you know what? I didn't realize how hard it was to be out there. Like, I can't do that. Like, I think I'm gonna just stay here and like finish my studies because, you know, his mom would pay all his bills out there. Like he didn't worry about anything.
Wow.
Where here,
you had to do things on
you
his own.
have to work in the sun, you know, like all that. So he was like, no, I'm not gonna come back. Yeah. And then he got with some girl right away. And I was like, wow, so was it? And everybody was like, he was just using you. Like, it was all just like for maybe to get papers. Like, he didn't really love you. And I'm like, you know what? I probably was. And now I'm like, that was so dumb of me to do. But I'm like, it happened. Yeah. Like, what am I going to do?
Y lo bueno que se fue.
Yeah, se fue. And then I haven't seen him. So, yeah. That was that one.
All your highlights. Well, some of them. I think we're still missing a couple, but...
Yeah. But those are some.
Pero Magali, yo me casé a los 19.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't have a lot of stories.
Yeah.
I was still a baby.
She was. So that was a little bit of our highlights.
Of our relationship. Past relationships.
Yes, past. Remember that. Past relationships. We are moved on.
The past.
We aren't there. It was our wild times. Well, mine. I feel like it was. Because now I look back and see all these little girls that are my age. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? So no, girls, don't. Study. Focus on on yourself.
Yeah.
Valórense.
You will have a whole lifetime to love on somebody.
And you know what? I used to look at 35-year-olds or 30-year-olds that weren't dating or weren't married yet. And I'd be like, that's so weird. Like, what a weirdo. And now I'm like, I see why. Like, it's not, no es cualquier
Some
cosa.
are weird, though. Some are weird.
No, yeah. Some sí son raritos, you know? But I'm saying, like, I get it. Like, it's not, like, something easy, you know? Yeah. It's a whole commitment and... Yeah. But
for sure.
Comment down below. Let us know.
Your chisme.
Your chisme.
Your wildest.
Yeah. It'd be fun to see like to see if somebody else has like a more wild story. I'm sure there is.
For sure.
But comment down, or if you have any questions for us, or si te quedaste con el piquecito, like that you're still a little more curious, like,
So what about this? Wait,
Tell
can
us
you
more
elaborate
details
this?
about that?
Yeah.
Put names. And be like, if you know me, I feel like you'll know who I'm talking about. But if you don't, then sucks to suck. But yeah, comment down and then we'll do a video
reply on Instagram. So follow us on there on Pero Pues Cada Quien podcast.
But for sure, we're going to go to a part 2 so we could talk about our current relationships.
Our actual relationships.
Yes. That we are happy. Are you happy in your relationship? Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm happy too, but
we're going to talk about the drama.
Yeah.
Or everything that entails.
Or more like the reality of it. Because you could love somebody and you have good times and good moments and cute memories, but
the real.
También hay punches. Not physically, guys. Calm down. No golpes.
We don't condone that.
But you hit bumps, you know, in the road. And that's where you really... Donde tienes que escoger, like, do I love this person? Or is this worth it? Like, do I continue? Yeah. So, stay tuned, chicas. This was fun.
Let us know if you guys are casadas or what you guys... Whatever. We want to know about it.
Is it Facebook official?
Or
even though we don't use it
even
no
official
more.
anymore?
I know.
Do you even care anymore?
This generation's like, what's Facebook?
What is popular? TikTok, I guess. I don't even think it's that.
If his @ is in your Instagram bio, that's what they do now.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. I'm like, I don't know.
But yeah, let us know. We're excited to see your comments.
And we hope you guys liked our little chisme hour here.
Yes. So we'll see you next time, chicas. Bye.
Bye.